Hello and welcome to the One About Podcast, a show where we're not mad, we're just disappointed each week. This week, we're diving back into the main Star Wars stories with what feels like a parody. This is the One About Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I am your host, Dean. I also go by EndlessCola in places around the internet, and I am joined this week, as always, by the Poe Dameron to my Hux, John. And Jordan, you can be Holdo, man. I don't...
Jeez.
At least I go out in a cool way.
What's going on this week, guys?
Not too much.
We're recording late.
We are. This is.
I mean, the audience
endless
won't know that. It'll go up regular as
Yeah.
always.
podcast after dark, dude.
I want a PS5, but I guess I gotta pay for a wedding and save and shit, so whatever.
Who needs to get married, dude? I can tell you it's a little overrated.
Fuck it. Like, I was like, I'll get a PS5 and we get married in my parents' backyard. We're fine.
Yeet. Wait, do your parents still have that gopher problem, man? Like,
Yeah, they totally do. It's still gonna be okay. Still gonna be okay.
it's gonna be a little bit, like Kim's just gonna be walking down the aisle, like, "Whoa!" Sorry,
hit
pothole.
Hit a pothole real quick. Twist that ankle. That's how you start a marriage.
With a trip to the hospital.
Mm.
I love it, dudes. That PS5 event, we were talking about it before we started recording a little bit, but man, that event today was lit.
It was cool.
God damn it, Jordan.
It's just like
Sorry,
read the energy of the room. It was awesome.
I
was excited.
Sorry. You ended in lit, so that means I should probably go. It was bogus, dude. Could have been better. I mean, not a lot of games.
I can't believe
and,
our
we got
unabashed
dates and
hype man is sitting here like, nah, it was all right.
I don't know. I thought it was I thought it was just kind of the bare minimum of what was expected. Like, we got God of War 2, we got a new Final Fantasy, we got dates, we got prices, and cool. Like, I'm not unhappy, but I'm not like ecstatic either. It's just nice.
I don't know, man. Like, first of all, I didn't expect God of War to be here. Like, that was the one thing where I was like,
you expected something though. You expected
I expected
some type of release like that.
You know what I expected? What they opened the show with. Final Fantasy 16, I expected to be here.
Yeah.
But God of War 2 was the one thing I was like, they're not going to show that because it's just not coming out anytime soon. And what did we get? God of War. Ragnarok is coming. End.
They showed more than Elder Scrolls 6, so you got to give them that.
Actually, they showed less. Like, at least Elder Scrolls 6, like, panned over the world or whatever for like 2 seconds.
Okay, I guess you're right. And they both.
And saying that they showed less than Elder Scrolls 6 is an accomplishment, my dude.
I mean, they just Elder Scrolls 6 was B footage, and then they just slap a logo. At least this one had like some nice graphics and some some sound to it. It was better. I think it was better than the Elder Scrolls 6.
But like, to your point, Jordan, like, saying, like, let's agree, yeah, they showed the bare minimum, like, of what you expected. Everybody's still hype as fuck, and like, everything is crashing for pre-orders.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's
new. Hey, welcome to a new console generation, right?
Like,
I'm
just
is.
like sitting on Twitter and watching other people order shit, and I'm like, but how?
How did you do? Like, people are like posting their confirmation numbers and shit.
I will hopefully be able to get one pre-ordered. However, I am not holding my breath. I'm not going hard and setting up reminders and using third-party services to let me know when it's available. I'm just kind of going to roll the dice, and if I get one this holiday season, then I get one.
I'm getting one this holiday season if I have to kick a 3-year-old in the face.
Wow.
Yep.
One way or another, I'm getting this console. Like, I got my wife downstairs clicking that checkout button like crazy until it works, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I said I was devoted to this show, but I'm still sitting here clicking checkout.
Like, straight up, I still have a Gen 1 PS4, so the Wi-Fi card's dog shit. The storage is just straight terrible, and like, of course, you get a graphic update with it, so like, it's just like, there's no reason for me not to get it and be like excited about it. Not even for the PS5 content, just for how much it would upgrade my experience playing on my PS4 games. Period.
So interestingly, Jim Ryan, who's like their what is his title? He is the PlayStation CEO.
So big swinging dick.
Yes, sir. With a big ass wallet to back it up.
Jesus Christ.
He said that of the games that they've tested, 99% work flawlessly on PS5. And I'm like,
what's the 1%? Like, I want to know what the 1% that doesn't work and like how bad is it? Like, that's what I want.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, are we talking about garbage shovelware, or are we talking about like Final Fantasy VII Remake? Like, what kind of 1% are we talking about?
Whoa!
I can't. Actually, I was gonna say I can't imagine Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't work on PS5, but it's Square Enix. I can absolutely imagine that it doesn't.
So I think, yes, the shovelware probably just isn't going to work on PS5. However, the really end of generation titles have used all tricks and like all the tricks of the trade to get that hardware working as best as possible. So things that they have done probably won't translate over. So a middle of the road developed game that uses just basic kind of language, right? It doesn't like do anything fancy. It doesn't revolutionize anything. They probably have the best chance of being run on PS5 than like other than maybe like Ghost of Tsushima, which is coded incredibly. You just look at the freaking load times.
We know that works though.
Well,
that
I'll give you an
Spider-Man,
example. Like the end.
No, I get what you mean, but I'm just
end
saying,
of era
like,
type of games.
We know that Sony first-party games work flawlessly on PS5. Like, in fact,
did they confirm that like all first-party games are going to work?
I believe so. I would have to double check it, but I'm pretty sure that was also part of his statement that all the first-party games work fine. I mean, you have to imagine that their first priority is going to be like, make sure all our games work, guys. Those third-party guys, fuck all of them. None of their games can work, and that's okay. But if our games don't work, we got a serious problem.
Stupid.
And so let me think. Like, he said, first and foremost, there's going to be more PS5s than there were PS4s, which is good. They sold 1 million PS4s on day one, so
they're probably going to double that
easily. Like
the way pre-orders are going, I don't know about that, man.
With the way hype is, and the fact that like everybody's stuck at home with COVID. Like, this is the best time to be in the gaming business right now. Like, buy stock in all the best gaming companies at this point in time.
Freaking Amazon's going to be on that add to cart page for all these people and go, hey, you can get 0% for 12 months if you open up an Amazon credit card. Like, yo, let's do it. Don't worry, man. People are going to be getting them.
I do love how everybody's throwing this quote from their head of marketing a couple of months back when he was like, don't worry, guys, we're going to give you plenty of notice before pre-orders go live. And then today they announced the date and it's like, pre-orders are live everywhere, man. It's chaos. Cats and dogs living together.
Oh my god.
Oh, every man for himself.
It's so bad.
Oh my god, dude. All I want is honestly, like, I'm sitting here like stressing over the PS5, but I'm honestly not that worried that I'm going to be able to pre-order it. Like, the servers are all busted and shit, but I can tell just from anecdotal evidence that the servers are busted for most everybody. It's not just me. So if nobody can order it, then nobody's snapping up their stock either. So when it eventually gets fixed, I'll be able to get one. It should be fine.
You're going to stay up all night, aren't you?
Yes. In other news, dude, this is actually like less related, but kind of related. Apple had their event yesterday for the new Apple Watch and the new iPad. Dude, them shits look good.
Dude, all right.
Any like big generational change that's coming through?
No.
For the iPad, yes. The Apple Watch, not so much.
Dude, fuck. All right, look. Let's say this right now.
Whatever you're about to say, I disagree.
fuck Apple.
Do it.
They just have
Do it.
They just have incredibly good marketing, and they're really good at reinventing the wheel. That's
a gross oversimplification of what they do.
it.
Like, I know where you're
Maybe.
coming from, but that's not entirely accurate.
It's like, I would say it's like fucking like at least 75% accurate, because
even, like, especially for you, like, as somebody who's, let's say, tangentially in the field, you have to admit, like, their chip design is next level. Like, they may not be on the cutting or bleeding edge of features and this and that, but the way they build and optimize chips is second to nobody.
No, and I once again, like, I'm just saying, like, fuck Apple, because how can I say this?
You're just really pissed off about your music. I get it, dude.
No. Like, I'm not even gonna go into that area, because I get why they did it. It's like, it was a smart business decision, and like, I'm just frustrated because I'm like probably in like the fucking 0.5% who still does that kind of shit.
That might be generous.
Thank you. But what I'm saying is, the way people act about Apple is like the way like people act about In and Out to me. Like, the way that they hype all this shit up, and it's just like, that's already been done. Like, this model, like, that's been done like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, most of the stuff that people are excited about is not what you mentioned about their chip design or anything like that. It's more of just like the new features. It's like, oh, we can have a dark mode on our phone now. Like, oh, this is fucking awesome. This is the shit.
But if I can play the devil's advocate for a second,
go ahead.
Though,
Yeah, go ahead.
And you know I love to play the devil's advocate, but like,
100%.
not even just to do it. Apple has this philosophy at this point in the game, because they used to be that company who was like, they're on the bleeding edge. They're the one inventing shit and putting it out there. Nowadays, though, their model is more like, you guys do whatever you want, and we're going to sit back and see what people like, and then we're going to show you how to do it better. And for the most part, I would argue that they do. Now, I would also argue that a big part of that is that their ecosystem is built in such a way that they can hyper optimize features and things like that, where other companies really can't, specifically for Android, because, you know, you're working with an OS that everybody else is working with. I'm not even going to get into all that. The point is, like, they can be like, okay, so everybody loves dark mode. This is how we're going to take dark mode to the next level. I don't know that they actually did that with dark mode. I haven't fucked with it since they implemented dark mode. I don't even know how you could take dark mode to the next level, but you know what? You get what I mean.
It's darker.
I get exactly
30% darker than the competition.
No. Like, again, like, the reason I say fuck Apple is because they're good at what they do. Amazing at what they do. And that's why they really don't see any other phones or technology as a competition, because they're so good at what they do. And I just get angry because most people who talk shit about other phones and other platforms other than Apple don't use the proper points of argument, in my opinion. Because, like, straight up, Apple is the best because of its back-end system. Like, the fact that you can send high quality videos, messages, have all these integrations on your apps, because they created their own compression algorithms and back-end messaging service, so they don't have to use crappy MMS that other phones do. And that since Apple's phone design is so simplistic and they only upgrade a few features at a time with new iterations, Snapchat, like, basically the whole Snapchat is an example to where they could actually use Apple's actual camera. That's why on Snapchat, all of Apple's pictures and videos were high quality, but say you go to like a Samsung or like an LG phone, it was shitty. The reason is because for coders, it's hard to program for so many different models of phones, but Apple's line of phones are very similar. So it's like, okay, we can code to use this camera, this camera, this camera, instead of, shit, we got to code for this camera on this version on this phone. And like, They just basically said, fuck it. The easiest way to do this is we're just going to use their screen capture. So whatever's on their screen, that's what we're actually going to record. We're not even really going to use their camera to its fullest potential. And that's what I mean. Is like most people are just talking about, oh, fuck, Apple's coming out with this new feature. Oh, this is going to be bad fucking ass. Like, everybody's going to love this shit. Oh, I'm going to roll to the fucking, like, everybody's just, like, losing their minds to get the new phone and they don't even know why. Like, I had this conversation with my friends who all have iPhones and shit, talk shit. And I was like, literally, I was like, I don't talk shit about what Apple does because it's the smartest thing you can do as a business model, period. And that's why they're making fucking money. My problem is just the way you guys are reacting and like what you're actually excited about and why you talk shit on my phone and you don't even know why. Like I told them straight up, if I could customize my phone and have access to admin level preferences on my phone like I do on like an Android phone with the Apple all inclusive ecosystem, I would buy an iPhone in a heartbeat. I would buy one right fucking now, but I don't.
The problem is though, if they give you that kind of freedom, they can't guarantee the rest of it anymore, which is why they take it away.
That's that's the problem.
Once again, I know
And
that.
also, so, and John, speaking to your point a little bit, I think I kind of feel the same way, but I have a little bit of a more like deep-seated resentment. Is that Apple used to be the company that came out first. Like they made the innovation, they pioneered stuff.
Yeah.
They came out with the iPod first. They came out with the first touch phone. They came out with a better PC, you know. They came out with a better operating system, a better infrastructure. They pioneered all this stuff, but it feels like in the last decade they're not so much in the business of pioneering new risky technologies as they are in just advancing and iterating on what they currently have. I just don't see a lot of I don't see the risks that I used to see. I don't see the leaps forward that they used to challenge the rest of the industry on. You know, now they adopt, like, they let other companies fumble and fail and then they adopt it the correct way. And it is smart, and they usually do it better than the competition because they control so much about their hardware and their software that they have an easier time, to your point, to just develop this stuff and then control it. It's not like it's the same problem that Windows versus Mac OS has, right? Windows is built for everything, so it can end up being clunky, virus ridden, and exploited. But it can also be beautiful if in the right hands, and if in the right used in the right hands of the right developer and the right company, you can really use it to its full potential. Mac is more limited. It adapts slower, but it generally is more consistent because it's just easier to maintain the consistency there.
I will say
That's my only thing. I just don't see innovation from them anymore.
no, and that to your point, like that's what I was talking about. Like they really don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's, to me, it's two pronged, because on the one hand, as a $2 trillion company, you don't have to take risk anymore, but also it's detrimental to your clearly successful business model to not take risks. And then also, it's just not smart. Like, why, if I'm Apple, why am I going to go out there and be like, look at my new foldable phone, guys? And then everybody's going to talk shit on me and devalue my brand, when I could just sit back and let the Samsungs and Huawei's and shit of the world do that. I mean, Huawei's a competitor at this point. I don't,
Yeah, they really are.
but
Um,
but like,
well,
you can let them do that, and then 2, 3, 4 years later be like, okay, we nailed it. Now let's release that phone and show you guys why you want it.
and I think that'll, in the long term, it'll work for them, right? But Apple had such they controlled the industry when the iPhone came out. They dictated everything about the future of our cellular devices. They created so many standards that the rest of the phone companies still use to handle their own interfaces, to handle the hardware design, to handle the UX, everything.
I mean, they
And
created you like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the Jesus Christ, what? You know what? I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead. Just gonna
That's well. My point's
GUI.
pretty much
That's
just
what I was trying to think of. Like,
Graphic user interface.
yeah, they were the
yes,
first.
yeah.
They were the first company to be like, you guys want to use a mouse with your. And they're like, what the fuck, a mouse? Get the fuck out of here with this. I don't want this extra peripheral on my computer. I just want to like type in code and shit. Like, nah, son.
A lot of time in tech in the tech industry, controlling those types of standards means controlling the environment. It's controlling the game, controlling the competition. That's why like companies, like even companies like Google and Facebook and like some large companies that you wouldn't even know have their own like coding standards. Like they create their own coding languages. Like Google has Angular, Facebook has React, which are just variants of something else. It's variants of JavaScript, but still like they they don't have to do these things. There is no advantage of these things that they do outside of I want to get more control, more granular control of the environment that's being created now in front of us. You know, in this case, it's the internet, right? That they want control of that. They want to set standards. They want to be the ones that say, here's the best way to do A, B, C. And I'm sure Apple in a year or two is going to see Samsungs and Huawei's foldable phones, and they're going to come out with their own, maybe something totally different, right? Maybe this is their opportunity to be like, look, you guys are having fun with your foldable phones, but check out this origami phone. It's going to be like a swan, and it'll turn into a phone, and it'll be so beautiful.
I
And I don't
I
know.
hate to burst your bubble,
So
but they're working on a foldable phone right now, so probably.
I'm sure, but like the Microsoft just came out with their own Microsoft DS. Their it's
Oh
not DS.
yeah,
It's their
the
Surface
Surface
Duo.
Duo. That's right. Yeah,
Oh
Yeah,
god.
it's kind. I
it's
really don't know
actually
anything
kind of
about it
dope,
other than
John.
pictures. It looks really cool. It does, but like Apple just needs to, they've got to get daring again. They
They
can't be scared to fail. They got to do something crazy.
so here's the thing. There was actually one thing that I really took away from this Apple keynote on Tuesday. Um, and it wasn't the Apple Watch, which the Series 6 is a little bit better, but like nobody really cares, I don't think, except for like hardcore Apple people or people without a watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, although they are coming out with a cheaper version of the Apple Watch, which is nice. When I jump back into the Apple ecosystem this holiday, I'm probably gonna pick one of those up.
You getting a new phone this holiday?
Yeah, I'm going back to iPhone, dude. I
Yeah,
hate
I thought
Android.
that. Yeah, I thought that was like already. You already did that. I already thought you shot that gun.
Well, because I want to get the new iPhone 12. That's what I'm waiting.
Oh, okay. So you're just waiting for it.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I'll be honest with you. Like, I was having a conversation with my wife over dinner tonight. Like, what if I just trade in this phone now, get the cheap iPhone, and then get the better iPhone in a couple of months when it comes out? Like, I'm that over Android at this point. But but regardless of that, the new iPad Air looks incredible too. By the way, they're using like fucking 5 nanometer chips with. I'm like, okay, guys, just just tell me why it's cool and shit. But anyway, my big takeaway from this was something that they're going to come out with called Apple One. And essentially, what this is a subscription service for their subscription services.
Mm.
So now, at this point, they announced Apple Fitness Plus, which is a subscription. It's $10 a month or like $79 a year, I think is what it's priced at. But they have like professional trainers that do training videos for you, and like it syncs up the workouts with your watch and your phone or your Apple TV or whatever you want to watch it on. So you can do like yoga or cycling or whatever you want to do, and you have a professional trainer that's guiding you through the exercises, and they sync it up with Apple Music, and like you can set whether you want it to be jazz or rock or whatever the case may be. And they have all these things. They do new ones every single week. Blah 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 blah. It's just a way for them to get into the fitness industry as well, because they have to have their hand in every pie. Um, but along with Apple Fitness, they were like, so at this point we have iCloud, Apple News, Apple Fitness, Apple Arcade, Apple Music, and Apple TV. And if you want all of that, it's going to cost you like $50 a month or something like that. But now we're going to come out with Apple One. And for $10 a month, you can get Apple Music, Apple TV, Apple Arcade, and iCloud. Or for 15, you can have those four services for 5 family members. Or for $30 a month, you can have those 4 services plus Apple News plus Apple Fitness for 5 family members. So for $30 a month, you get everything that they have to offer, 2 terabytes of cloud storage, and you can share it with 5 family members. In other words, like, it's just this crazy deal, but like, they have these cheap watches, cheap iPads, cheap phones, and great deals on subscription services for fucking everything. So now it seems to me that they're playing the same game that Microsoft is. They don't give a shit about what device you're buying or being cutting edge or whatever. They just want to pay you to lock you into a monthly subscription. And if they can do that, it's all gravy, baby. They don't have to innovate a goddamn thing.
That's what most popular services have been moving to, like SaaS solutions,
Yep.
like something as a service. So, I mean, we see it with the gaming industry too, like EA's philosophy of gaming as a service,
Don't
right?
put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
It's not how you launch, it's how you end up. But yeah, no, that's, I mean, eventually I think everything we interact with within 20 years is probably going to be subscription based, but it's just going to be buffets everywhere. You know, you want a video game, you get the video game buffet. You want TV, well, there's a TV buffet that's mixed in with your phone, your internet storage, and eventually we'll have America One, and it's all those services for $200 a month. You know, and it'll be funded by the U.S. government.
Could one of
Do
those
you want to get
services
into
be good
America?
healthcare? Like, fuck.
I don't know. I was thinking of like something that would join every service, right? Like a mega subscription.
I just want there to be less. I'm trying to think of how to like accurately say this, but like I want less choices, which is generally bad. But like specifically with like video, right? I'm sick of having to sit here and be like, okay, well, if I get Netflix, I can watch this. I can watch this on Amazon. Ooh, I can watch Star Trek on CBS, but I really like what HBO is doing. And like by the time that you get all that shit worked out, it'd be way cheaper just to have basic TV. But we're fucked now, guys. Because like now all these companies want you on their services so bad that they have exclusive content. So even if you wanted it to go back to TV, you're still fucked. So, like, I just want somebody to come in and, like, I don't know if that's Apple. I don't know if that's Google. I don't know if that's Microsoft. God help us. But somebody just come in here and, like, listen, watching TV is hard. Here's a $30 a month subscription, and you just get everything. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Well, I think that, I mean, even cable companies have that. Like Spectrum has their own Spectrum streaming, which they're desperately trying to compete with, like Sling and YouTube TV and all those other services.
Nope. Their best bet is to make themselves work like seem very lucrative and either get bought by a major streaming service or buy a major streaming service and bundle it in with their with their cable service. That's their best bet.
I mean, I think right now we're just seeing the cable companies grasping at straws. This is their last breath, because media as a whole is just changing. Like it's not gonna happen fast, and it won't be a pretty transition. But I mean, internet content, individual content creators, that seems to be where this generation, ours starting with it, and then the ones, of course, after us, they're gonna just want that more than standard cable can offer. So it's just the whole landscape is changing. I don't know what it'll look like, really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I worked in
But
a
I think
media.
it's just gonna be a lot of individual creators doing a lot of individual things, right? You just follow the content creators, and some of those content creators will join up, and they'll have, this, certain, like, there's already a video game, like, streamers join up together, like there's like FaZe Clan, like things like that, where they're already under like one house. There's influencer houses already, like the Clout House and like Team 10, stuff like that on YouTube, like with Logan Paul. Like it's already starting to become like this. Like they're starting their own little influencer bubbles and their own um, little companies, kind of. So it's gonna be really interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. Speaking of interesting to see where it goes, Star Wars went into an interesting.
Can we just talk about Cable? It's more interesting. Please, please, God.
Look at it this way, man. You watched the movie already. Don't make it for nothing.
Oh God. Okay, this is gonna be the shortest podcast ever.
I really doubt it.
I'm gonna make it the shortest one. Do everything in my power to not talk about this.
Well, I mean, as tradition dictates, what'd you guys think?
Boo!
Oh, big fan, huh?
I don't like it. I don't like it. And I saw this movie in theaters
Yeah, we
3
saw it together.
times. We did, yes. I saw it 2 times after that as well. And I have not seen it. Well, no, I think I've seen it once since then. And every watching, I've hated it more and more.
Oh,
Like when I first got out of the theater, like my very first showing of it, I was kind of shocked, right? And it was like an emotional roller coaster. But now that like that initial shock factor of the movie has waned, and I've started to really watch it and analyze what's going on and understand what's going on, I hate it more and more and more.
so you're a big
John,
fan, is what
what do you think, John?
Yeah.
It's just the start of the downward spiral of where like they straight up like wasted so much potential, and then they doubled down on it, which makes it even worse. Like it's just fuck.
They found a bad idea and they're like, wait, I can make it worse.
Yeah, like legit. It's like no, like this seems like it's a bad idea, but like we need to go hard on it, or nobody's gonna love it. It's like no, that's the wrong thing. You need to pull back now. Like, it just seemed like a lot of their decisions were like they had like storyboard ideals and they put them on the wall and they just threw darts at it. Like this is gonna work. We're gonna do this, this, and he's gonna be there. Okay, yeah, this works. This works. Like like one example of wasted potential is like I actually liked the mysteriousness of Snoke. Nobody knew who Snoke was. Like after watching the first movie, like everybody was like speculating who the fuck Snoke is, and they straight kill him for no reason. Like they just straight kill him, and I'm just like,
Give him no backstory.
why?
Give him absolutely no context
no
at all.
context whatsoever. Don't like reveal anything about his lineage, why he's so powerful. Like, who is this random dark Sith Jedi, whatever he is? How did he come to be? Where did he come from? He looks old and decrepit, so he's been there for a while, but not more than like how old is Ben? Like Ben's like what, like 20 something,
Yeah,
right?
you'd have to be something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, when Luke Skywalker was revealing to Rey that he had a moment of doubt, which stupidest shit I've ever heard. He had a moment of doubt. The sentence was Snoke tainted him, and I was like, wait, Snoke met Ben and like did something, like talked with him, like Snoke is like what he just implied is Snoke's been pulling the strings for years, and
He's
we get
30.
we get nothing. We get nothing about Snoke, and it's just wasted, so much wasted potential. On top of the fact that Homeboy's got a legion of just red clad armor. Like, no offense, they all look badass. But
super awesome.
I'm
And they
so
all get-
offended.
and they get fucking taken out in 2 seconds by a very like fresh neophyte. I'm gonna put up quotations Jedi, and someone who doesn't know if he should be on the dark side or the light side. He's not true dark side at all, and he's super emotional. And they just take out this. How many of them? Was there like 7 of them? 7 or 8 of them? All with different types of weapons, trained to fight people that use lightsabers and then some, and just took them all out like it was nothing. Like it. Don't get me wrong.
That fight scene
it was
was
great.
still really cool.
It was
It was
great.
still really, really cool.
But it doesn't make sense. And again, wasted potential. Like, where did these guys come from? Who trained them? How are they so good? Why are they so good? Like, none of that was used as a backstory. They were just like, oh, let's put in these cool warriors. I mean, they're going to die in one scene. You only see them for like 5 minutes, but everybody's going to fucking love it. I was like, I mean, yeah, I love the fight, but you wasted like these badass warriors that you could have used in some other like battle. Like it is just so much, and like that's just one instance, and like there's so much around it that they could have built off of to make it like make Snoke seem more menacing, make him seem more of a Machiavellian schemer like Palpatine.
Dean?
I just don't even know where to go after that tangent.
Just
So,
fun, dude.
so after we saw it the first time, Jordan, I fucking hated this movie.
Mhm.
But I have to say, after rewatching it this time, I kind of dig it, dude. Like, there's some cool ass.
Don't
scenes
Jordan this episode. Don't be me this episode, Dean.
He's being
That's shit I pull.
you're being a
You don't get to do this. I argued with you for years about this damn movie. You don't get to come here and freaking 11th hour and say, you know what, guys? Let's be cool. It's not that bad. No, you don't get to do that.
I just love that you admit that you're just pulling some bullshit for the last 3 months of my life, Jordan.
No, I know myself, you know, like I definitely suffer from recency bias a lot of the times, and more times than not, I'll give something the benefit of the doubt. Not this movie. You're pulling a me.
Okay, I'm just fucking with you. This is like the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, dude. Like,
Are you serious?
yeah, this movie's fucking
Oh
awful.
my god, so triggered.
excellent.
Dude, this movie's
Got
just
him.
straight up bad. Like, there's
Oh,
so
God.
many things wrong with it.
I
But
skipped. Yes, go ahead.
but as tradition dictates, let's take a look at the opening crawl
Yay.
because man, do I love me an opening crawl now.
Yep.
So, it opens with possibly my favorite opening line for any opening crawl ever. The First Order reigns. What?
Yeah, I have that on my notes too, in quotations, and right afterwards, I wrote, "But why?"
Like, at the end of the last movie, didn't we like blow up their planet-sized base? Like, what the fuck happened? What do you mean the First Order reigns?
That's one of my biggest complaints about. Well, okay, yes, one of the dozen of my biggest complaints about this movie is that it's just there's nothing. Like they go from episode 7 having like a full legion of resistance fighters to like enough to fit on the Millennium Falcon at the end of this movie, like a handful, and they're like, all right, I'll talk about that later. But like, yeah, that first line is some bullshit.
Having decimated the peaceful Republic, they did what now? They blew up 5 planets. Okay, let's just roll with that. Supreme Leader Snoke now deploys his merciless legions. He has merciless legions? Alright, we'll just roll with that too. To seize military control of the galaxy. Doesn't he kind of already have it, man? Like, how small was the First Order in the first movie?
I have no idea. I didn't pay attention enough.
I hate this scroll. What was the last scroll that we really complained about? Was it episode 2 that we
Fucking
hated?
all of them, dude. All of them.
It was
the scrolls
episode
aren't.
2. Like Dean had a major qualm with the fact that Count Dooku just turned like what thousands, tens of thousands of
Several thousand solar
solar
systems.
systems.
That's still believable. But
Anyways,
I think this is actually the worst scroll that I've seen so far.
Well, it's the worst movie we've seen so far, so I guess that works out.
We'll get to that later too.
I mean, I'll just throw that out right now. Spoilers. This is like my list didn't change, except this one's way at the bottom. Way at the bottom. In fact,
yeah.
I wrote down my list after watching this one in my notes. I put down my list and I ranked them or whatever. And then I was like, okay, hit enter to go to the next line. Enter. 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 I was like, fuck this movie, dude. Like, first of all, one of my notes in here, let's see. Yeah, here it is. This movie is way too long. This movie's 2.5 hours long for some reason, and they don't tell you shit. How is this movie 2.5 hours long?
You know, I don't mind the length of the movie, but so little in this movie happens. Like, if you think about the scope and the actions and the settings, this is like one of the smallest scoped movies of the entire franchise.
One of, yeah, sure.
I think it is really it's the most narrowest plot of them all, right? First Order finds resistance base, they flee, they then hyperspace track them, and then they just are on a freaking OJ LA foot chase throughout space to some random errant planet, and
oh man, I have thoughts about that one.
Then they go off on a little casino run, and then Rey has to convince Luke, and then they finally, everything's cool. And then they fly back, and they all meet up at the same planet, and they leave. There's like 5 locations in this movie. When usually Star Wars is like bouncing around, there's a large narrative, there's a bunch of plot points. This one it just feels so tight, right? There's just not a lot of locations. There's not a lot of major plot points in this entire movie, and they just, instead of using the excessive time with the limited locations and plots to expand the story and add context to a bunch of characters, they miss so many opportunities to just provide us with incredible dialogue, to give us amazing backstory and even flashbacks, like longer flashbacks. But we get none of that. We get absolutely none of it. We get the first scene in this movie, which is the worst start of any Star Wars movie.
That's literally what I wrote in my notes, dude.
It is it is so far removed from the rest of the Star Wars franchise that this scene, I couldn't even watch it. Like I couldn't watch it. Like I was listening, but I couldn't actually watch it because it was so cringy. It was so forced. It was so dumb. It was terrible. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible scene.
And most importantly, it's not fucking funny.
It's not. It feels way too. It's like it's way too modern for Star Wars. Like it's edgy millennial humor that has absolutely no business being in Star Wars at all. It's so jarring. It's so jarring. Damn millennials.
Invade my Star Wars.
I'm on hold still. I want to talk to Hot. Am I still on hold? Oh God, I think he's tricking you, sir.
Like straight up.
The worst part is like if you read the subtitles, which I always do now. The first time he calls him General Hugs, and I'm like, not funny, man.
Yeah,
he's all Go ahead, John.
No, I'm just saying. In a nutshell, like anything in any sort of realistic, any other Star Wars movie, they wouldn't like accept the hailing or anything like that. They just straight shoot the ship.
Yes, they absolutely would, especially since the captain of that ship, Captain Kennedy, actually seemed like he could have been a kind of a cool character. He was like a classic American war movie captain, you know? He was just just angry. He yelled. He was stern. He accepted his death at the end when it came. Like he was annoyed that he was dying, right? When the dreadnought eventually went down, but they just treated him like this little punk bitch. You know, this one singular fighter just that can move fast and shoot all these freaking turrets off of a dreadnought, which is a dumb ship to begin with. And then okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. It was just terrible. It was so terrible. It was so cringy. And then the audacity of the writing for Leia in this movie, which I think is atrocious. To have Leia.
So I'm just gonna interrupt you real quick because
Okay.
like I just want to make a point here. Like I made a note that it feels like they don't understand Star Wars characters, but then right after that, I made another note. It feels like they don't understand the Star Wars characters that they made up in Episode 7.
It feels like an entirely different group of writers, right? It feels like an entire like they retained nobody from episode 7 and they brought in a whole new cast and they wrote this movie in a vacuum. That's what it felt like.
Yep.
And then
100%.
poor JJ
Fuck
has to
JJ.
pick up the pieces and deal with episode 9 in whatever way that he did.
JJ blew it in the last one. I don't feel bad for him.
I think that if he had control and the reins throughout all the trilogy, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as bad as it ended. But
that's not saying like, dude, it'd be one thing if we were having this conversation 5 years ago when episode 7 or even 3 years ago when this movie first came out, and you were still high on episode 7, all this. But after last week, can you seriously sit there and tell me that if JJ had full control of all 3 movies, that it would have been good?
Yes.
Oh my god, damn it, Jordan.
Yes. I can say
Recency
that because
bias is creeping in already.
No, I can say that because look of all I just made a point about how much time they wasted in episode 8. The entire movie, literally that entire scene where we can't catch up because they're a lighter freighter, even though we're in space, so that doesn't really freaking matter. But that entire time they wasted doing all of that over an hour, that entire sequence, an hour and a half, however long it was, and then also providing no exposition, no backstory, no development whatsoever. JJ, I believe, in my heart of hearts, that he would have cut that shit out and actually just kind of brought in parts of 9, like half of 9 would have been included into episode 8, and they would have started building. They would have started building all of these things that 9 tries to shove in your face.
No, so you keep doing it
in a better way. I'm just saying, he would have had a better platform. He had to pick up a lot of pieces going into episode 9, so I feel bad. And I don't know the situation with the writers. I don't know if they got new writers every movie, if there was one overarching team throughout all of them, and this was like a part of their master plan. Which,
There's
if it
no
was,
way that's the case.
If this was orchestrated, if this was like a team of writers, they finished episode 9, like they finished writing episode 9, they're like, man, this is perfect. We sat down and wrote all of them. We have all the major plot points. It's perfect. Then they are the worst writers we have ever seen in Hollywood. But I don't know what happened there. All I know is that the directors changed, and I know that there's been a lot of turmoil throughout the trilogy itself, with people leaving and getting added back on, and even the actors themselves showing their disdain for the movies, like openly, especially now, like very recently. The actor that played Finn. But what are you gonna do? This is what we were given, so this is what we're gonna talk about.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna shit on this movie properly, dude. Like,
get him.
Fuck that, man. Yes, I agree insofar as if JJ had full control, it would have been a better trilogy of movies. But dude, episode 7's already such a fucking bad movie that there's no way it would have been good.
Now, I think that episode 7, you could have slow rolled some of the actions in episode 7, i.e. destroying the Starkiller base. Like, if he knew going in, if Disney said, hey, here's the pen. You have a trilogy. You work with the writing team You work to direct it. You have 3 movies. We're not doing the bullshit where we're changing directors, we're changing ideas every time, and we're just adapting to previous movies' feedback to try and just create something that we think has mass appeal and just gives people just like nostalgia bombs randomly throughout the movie. 7 was a lot worse than 8, but 8 still has a couple of them too. I think if he started 7 with that intent, it definitely would have been a lot better. I don't know why they didn't do that. But I mean, all this is just I had no leg to stand on. It's all just speculation.
Dude, I will say this, like, unless that writer's room is like Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy just like beating them and shitting on their desk every 20 minutes, there's no excuse for this. Like, this is just terrible. Terrible.
I don't know what it is. Yeah,
And
I don't know.
dude,
They ruined Poe's character. Oh my god, they just destroyed him. This entire movie destroyed his character. It's not even that first scene. It's the entire movie.
Dude, so one of my notes here is that at least Finn is still stupidly obsessed with the Mary Sue that is Rey. Like, that's the only characterization that seems to exist from the past. It's almost like Rian Johnson went, okay, I watched that movie.
Did he though?
Fuck that. We're gonna throw all of that in the, you know what? Piss on it, then throw it in the trash, and we're gonna start all over again. And they're like, but dude, we can't call this episode 8 and like get rid of all the characters. All right, fine. God damn it, we'll bring back the characters, but everything else goes in the trash.
Basically,
I mean, like, they're still gonna be like the same characters, right? Nah, dude, nah. We're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want, man. It's gonna be great. Fuck deep. All right, I guess we're just gonna do that. I don't even know where to start with this movie, man. Like, from the fucking absolutely ridiculous space combat maneuvers that they just pull out of their ass in this movie all of a sudden.
Oh, you mean
the unbelievable ramping up of the Force, which I will say, I've softened on this over the years to where, like, I'm not as offended by it in concept. What I'm really offended by is the across the board raising of the tide. In other words, like, it's one thing to have like force projections across the galaxy, which is crazy and happens the whole fucking movie. I didn't even really realize this until this watching, but it happens the whole movie.
Yep.
Everybody focuses on Luke at the end, but the whole movie this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
But even forgetting that, like, everything in this movie is like cranked up to 11. They're like, you want to use force powers? Well, you gotta use super duper force powers, bro. You want to like move something with the force? You move everything with the force. Like, guys, you just have some like tact, a little subtlety. And Rian Johnson's like, no fucking subtlety, bro. I wrote those Breaking Bad episodes of subtlety. I'm saying fuck subtlety. This is the no subtlety movie. All right, that's what we're doing, I guess. We're gonna have fucking dead Leia Superman her way back through space, and
that was so. I'm looking at the writing, like the writers for the movies, because I'm still kind of stuck on it, and it's been pretty much just a random shit show. So
sounds right.
Yeah, just bringing in different writers. The director, so J.J. Abrams, also wrote parts of 7 and also most of 9 with someone else, and it's just like there's just no consistency. There was obviously no master plan that went over the sequel trilogy, and it shows.
No.
But so parts of the Force that we use, the Force really wasn't okay. The physical aspect of the Force wasn't used too much in this movie, like nowhere near as much as it was used in Episode 9. But in this movie, we saw the Force connection with the dyad.
Why can't you stop bringing up that movie? We're not there yet. I don't have enough will to sit here and talk about Episode 9 after this movie.
because episode 9 looms over me. Like it
Episode 9
casts a
reigns.
shadow. It really does cast a shadow over my entire experience with the sequel trilogy, and I can't help but bringing it up. But anyway, this one we have the dyad, which is a manifestation of the Force, like a connection between them. And then we also have Rey lifting the rocks at the end, which was like the most realistic Force thing that happened in the entire movie.
Which is still excessive for Rey.
I believe that, especially since her quote unquote training or the lessons that Luke gave her were nothing. Like she got no training at all, unless someone wants to go and say, well, actually she was on that island for like a month and they don't show you the things that he was teaching her, but she did a lot. Okay.
This is like when Luke was like, well, Yoda trained me in the ways of the Force. When?
No, he
didn't do anything.
He just yelled at you. He just degraded you.
It's the same thing. And I will note that much like I was initially kind of annoyed with episode 7 because it just rips off episode 4, this movie wholeheartedly rips off giant chunks of 5 and 6.
The largest, I mean, the only time that I felt that was when Rey was riding the elevator up with Kylo to meet Snoke, and I felt the parallel to Luke and Vader's dialogue in episode 6 when Vader was bringing him to the Emperor. That was the only real parallel that I felt.
Really? You didn't feel that parallel when they were in there with Snoke, and Snoke was like, look at your fucking pitiful resistance that I'm destroying, and there's no way I could possibly lose it. What the fuck? I'm dead! You didn't get any flashbacks to episode 6 on that one?
I didn't see that as a parallel. I just saw that as a cliche. Like that's just a trope. Yeah,
really?
I mean,
the whole like I have your lightsaber sitting right here next to me.
You
reach this? Yeah, dude, like he does the same thing. He has Rey look at the resistance as it's being burned to the ground, just like Palpatine had Luke stare and watch as the resistance was cut down because he led them into his trap, just like he claims he led them into this trap, just like the Emperor's hubris gets him killed. Snoke's hubris gets him killed in this movie. They're both killed by their apprentices while the light side user is over here trying to turn them. It's the same thing.
Well, that's a consistent theme throughout all Star Wars.
Stop it. I will not allow this cyclical bullshit argument on my podcast, dude. This is nonsense. Star Wars is not cyclical. It has never been cyclical until these sequel bullshit movies came out. The only thing that you can even argue is cyclical in the first 6 movies is the Death Star coming back in episode 6, which I admit is stupid. But this movie just wholesale rips off the original trilogy. Just fucking wholesale rips it off. All the time.
I can definitely agree with you that they chose the laziest way to reach their conclusions.
Yes.
When writing this movie. They absolutely chose the laziest way every time.
And this movie's terrible, and so is Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
So John, how did you feel about this movie, man? Like,
well, no,
it sounds like you love it.
No, I don't love it. We already been over the fact that I don't love it. Like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about anything else but how they just dropped the ball with Snoke, and that's how bad the movie is. Like, I don't need to talk about anything else. Like, to your point, Dean, about how everything is basically the same as episode 6, right? Like, they're basically ripping that off.
Yep.
So, I don't care. Spoiler alert. 5 and 6. Spoiler alert. Palpatine is behind Snoke. So, using that logic, if Palpatine was Snoke, and he's been through this shit before, why wouldn't he make contingencies for it? Why wouldn't he see it coming? Why would he let this happen? You see what I mean? Like, that's how bad of a job that they did and with Snoke and how they dropped the ball so hard with him. Like, okay, cool. You ruined a mysterious figurehead that was probably the most powerful dark side force user we've seen, even more powerful than Palpatine up to this point. and you killed him off. But then you make him a puppet, like straight up just a clone puppet for Palpatine, but he's actually worse than Palpatine. He goes out quicker and in a stupider way than Palpatine. Like that,
You know what?
doesn't make sense.
So here's my problem. To your point, like apparently you guys just can't leave episode 9 alone for now. So fine.
Nothing happens in this movie.
Let's just talk about it.
No,
in episode 9, we find out he's not just a puppet of Palpatine. He's a fucking failed clone of Palpatine. He is Palpatine. So, first of all, how the fuck are you going to sit there and tell me that's a clone? He looks nothing like Palpatine. These big fat sausage fucking fingers that he's rubbing on Rey's face and shit. I was watching that like, how in the fuck are you going to try and tell me that that's Palpatine?
So I can actually make sense of this, okay?
I hate you already for trying.
And I can give you the reason. So here's why Snoke seems so off-putting in this. We don't really have any answers, and here's why like he doesn't seem like Palpatine's clone. And also,
he was cloned after he got thrown down the shaft and the Death Star exploded?
No. It's really Dean, let me finish. It's a really easy explanation, okay?
Oh, it's like when Arnold Schwarzenegger was on Mars in that movie, and like his eyes are popping out and shit.
Total Recall.
That's when they cloned. No. Yeah, Total Recall.
Dean,
that's when they.
Dean, you gotta let me finish, all right?
Okay.
Get your ass to Maz. All right, you gotta let me finish, okay? There's a simple explanation. There's a very simple explanation why all of these things don't make sense.
Okay.
Because they didn't fucking know it when they wrote this movie. They made it up in episode 9. They had no idea where to go with any of this shit. Okay? And when they wrote this goddamn movie, they didn't know that Snoke was a clone. They didn't know Rey was going to be a Palpatine. They didn't know any of that shit. They had no fucking idea what they were going to do. They just wrote this. Rian Johnson just wrote this, cashed his check, and fucking went out the door. That's it. They didn't know.
That's fair.
They didn't know.
That's actually a fair assessment. Like, think there's no other way that you could drop the ball this hard with such a beloved and scrutinized franchise.
J.J. Abrams in the 7th movie bought a Lego set. He's 13 years old. He bought a Lego set. He followed the instructions. He let it sit, and his 6-year-old younger brother, Rian Johnson, picked up his Lego set, destroyed it, ate half the pieces, and JJ, after he came back from his delicious lunch, had to rebuild it with half the pieces, and that's what we have in the sequel trilogy. That is the shit that we see here. No one had any idea what they were doing. There was no plans for any of this. That's why Rian Johnson doesn't explain anything. He doesn't feel like he needs to. Like he's just like, man, the lore doesn't matter. Who these people are doesn't matter. I'm just gonna make things look really pretty. Which, in his defense, the scenes.
No.
Some of the scenes looked beautiful. Some of the scenes looked beautiful. They did, yes.
Stop.
They did.
Dude, stop. So
he did a good job with a lot of select scenes.
This is why he did such a fucking terrible job. In episode 7, we were talking about how JJ kind of goes back to that original trilogy, uses a lot of practical effects, a lot of similar puppetry. It really
by design
evokes the yes, by design. It really evokes the feeling of that original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Rian Johnson went, nah, fuck that, son. We using CG. We're gonna evoke the prequels and do it even worse.
Episode 2 looked the best.
Dude, like, for real though, like, especially when they're on Canto Bight, which
I skipped every scene in Canto Bight, so I really can't say much to it. I couldn't watch it. It's one of the worst little sub arcs in the entire Star Wars franchise, outside of the freaking romance in episode 2.
Well, I can summarize Canto Bight for you really quick. Animal cruelty is bad.
Yes. And rich people are bad, and all rich people are bad no matter what. And the casino is a representation of repression. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nailed it.
Yes.
Great job.
Thanks.
It's like
impressed.
the worst part is like, oh, they failed their mission. They didn't get the guy they were supposed to. Like, I didn't even realize this on my first watch. It's like, oh, they weren't supposed to find that guy in the jail cell. That wasn't the guy they were coming there for. Nope. Oh,
Total
but
plant.
he just happens to be like a thief of a caliber well enough to get in. After
Actually, somebody explain this to me because I'm not clear. Even after watching this movie 3 times, which was DJ a plant, or did he just happen to be there? And at some point, he hooked up with the God. I want to say the Empire. That would be a better movie inherently. The First Order, and they turned him. And if it's the latter, when the fuck did that happen?
So, he is not a plant. It was coincidental that they found him in the cell next to them when they were locked away.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yep. Got it.
And when he turned was when they were caught. And that's why he has his little dialogue moment. I thought he was actually a kind of a good character. I thought he was acted really well. I liked him. No, everything around him, his placement, his motivation, everything was bad. But him as an actor, I think he's a good actor. Like I thought he could have been a good character. But no, he literally was captured. And because he gave them information that somehow he knew that the rebels were escaping into those like little sub ships, and then the Empire confirmed it was right.
Considering that even they didn't know that, I have no idea how he could have possibly known that. But yeah,
I don't necessarily know when he learned it. Maybe he just like overheard some communication. But regardless, he told the Empire. The Empire confirmed it. Hux was surprised. They started to shoot them down, and then he's just like, "Oh, I guess I'm free," which is that is absolutely not what the Empire would have done. The Empire would have been like, "Thanks for the information. Shoot." They would have shot him dead immediately. That's not how this works. It feels wrong. Everything feels wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of everything feeling wrong, let's address the elephant in the room.
We haven't.
Holdo.
Oh,
bro, this is
been
by far and away the worst character they've ever come up. Like, I'll take 3 straight hours of nothing but Jar Jar Binks over this bitch.
What's your problem with Holdo?
Well, I'm glad you asked, John. So, first of all, like, let's just ignore the military tactic and the leadership that is presented to us.
End quote.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll circle back to that one. If your subordinates' first reaction to you is, nah, we're not cutting her in because she's gonna do some stupid shit. Let's just go rogue and mutinous and do whatever the fuck we want. You are an absolute failure as a leader. Just an absolute failure. But beyond that, as this movie goes on, we find out that her master plan is to not tell specifically Poe anything because she wants him to learn that sometimes you just have to blindly follow what's in front of you and trust that it's going to be fine. When if she had just been like, listen, bitch, the plan is X, Y, and Z, he would have been like, oh, all right, I guess we don't have to go on some stupid ass casino run. And instead, they do spend an hour on a stupid ass casino run, and they give up a bunch of critical information that I'm still not clear on how they got, but they give up critical information that ends up getting them killed.
Dean, I think you're right. I think that if she would have told him and they wouldn't have gone to the casino, they actually would have pulled their plan off. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That is the stupidest shit I've ever... And so Poe Dameron takes a 180 from the first movie. Absolute 180. So obviously in the very beginning, his offensive dialogue, and my voice cracked because I'm just so emotional, but his offensive dialogue, his disobeying direct orders from their freaking general at that time, Leia, right? Leia then letting him do this, right?
Dude.
Killing all of those bombers, which are dumb, And not even worth going into how stupid those bombers are in the beginning of the movie. He should have, after that, he was demoted. Yeah, Leia demoted him. He should have been fucking court-martialed.
Yeah.
First of all, let me ask, did they show her doing that? Because like I know Holdo says that it happened, but I was like heard her say it and I was like, wait, she did?
I think it was a quick throwaway that happens. I don't remember the exact moment, but I think she just throws it out real quick at him when he comes back to the bridge. But yeah, so he terrible character the entire movie.
Well, he was supposed to have died off. They actually weren't supposed to bring him back, but fans loved him so much.
I thought they could have done something good with him.
Yeah,
they could have done something good with him. I think, you know, but God, man, not like this.
He's just like, he just became like comedic relief and like the like stupidest captain or whatever position he had that you could ever have. Like, let's like go on a murderous rampage mission to destroy this one ship and sacrifice all our precious resources that are already dwindling. Like,
bro, I have that in my notes too. I was like, was it really worth it?
It really wasn't.
Fucking ship.
One destroyer, you're like, and like they said from the beginning crawl, like the rebels were like a dwindling force. So you're just gonna throw what remaining resources you have to get this one ship out of the way? Stupid.
But John, it's a dreadnought. They may not get this opportunity again.
Which is also frustrating because, like, as a viewer, and at this point, I'm willing to concede that I'm like a pretty casual fan of Star Wars. Like, I'm not even like a deep fan of Star Wars. But like, if you just watch these movies like we've been, that doesn't mean a fucking thing. Like, oh, but it's a dreadnought. The fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
What? So is it big? Why is it important? Why do I care?
It just looks bigger, and it has big old cannons. That's about it.
The worst part is like he's already told you there's more than one. Like, I can understand you doing this to the Death Star or the Star Killer base because there's one, and it's their best, most powerful weapon that they're using to put the all galaxies to heel and bow down to them. Like, I would understand that.
I would even be happier if they were like, even retroactively in the next movie, they were like, yeah, but Palpatine was in his head the whole time, just screaming, "Do it!"
Stupid.
Like, okay, well, that explains why he's a fucking idiot in this movie, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But
wouldn't that have been like such a great turn if you found that Poe is actually being manipulated in Episode 9?
Dude, if Poe was being manipulated by Palpatine throughout like the whole sequels, that would have been fucking amazing.
Like, you find that like and they knew this throughout all the trilogy, so looking back when you find it out, you're like, oh my goodness, there were slight moments where his decisions really made a large negative impact on the Resistance as a whole.
That's why he's trying to escape the whole time, so we can give them this information.
Oh God, that would have been a good idea.
It, like, again, wasted potential. There's so many things they could have done. Like, go
ahead.
Like, I'm just saying, like, even like if you don't like Episode 7, like, it started off with like promise. There's so many things they could have done. There's so many directions they could have took it, and they just literally picked the worst possible one.
No, they looked at all of their possible options and directions and went, "Fuck that! We're choosing this option that's not even on the table." And then in Episode 9, they were like, "Okay, so here everything that we could possibly do. Now let's turn around and pick something that's not even in the Star Wars canon. Let's just fucking really go off the wall now." But we'll get to that.
Well, let's
No.
Let's talk about Luke's entrance.
Let's not.
How about that? I think we're there yet.
Fuck.
So how do we feel about Luke's first appearance, his first actions.
Oh, I need to repeat myself. Okay, hold on. Fuck!
But Dean, you forgot. Shit.
No, I think what I forgot was God damn it!
You're right. I stand corrected.
Okay, everything about this is wrong. It actually, what's Luke's quote? Every single word in that sentence is wrong. Something to that effect.
He says it twice.
Yeah, he does. It's funny because every time he says it, I'm like, was that their mantra for Luke Skywalker as a character in this movie? Like, Luke is so bad in this movie that Mark Hamill, they infamously were like, stop talking, because he couldn't help himself in saying how bad Luke Skywalker is in this movie. And I'll be interested to hear your take on this one, Jordan, because this is actually a point of contention that you and I had when this movie came out, where you were fucking okay with this. This is the most, scratch that, by far and away the most offensive thing that they've done to Star Wars yet. By far and away. Like, if Luke Skywalker was in some way sacred to Star Wars, they defiled it in every way imaginable. It is tantamount to heresy what they did to Luke Skywalker in this movie.
So, by design, yes. And they make it clear that the moral of Luke in this story, like what he tries to portray is like, never meet your heroes, right? Like don't don't step out of your, like just what's the best way to phrase this?
There isn't one because it's dumb. Like,
His
this
whole
just doesn't.
his whole moral is just, just because I was a legend, just because they made stories about me doesn't mean that I am perfect, right? That I'm infallible. I make mistakes. And I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that narrative. I'm perfectly fine with it. But after watching all the movies that we've watched, after seeing good Star Wars written well in The Mandalorian, after seeing other examples of beautiful Star Wars storytelling, like Fallen Order, it's bullshit. I've actually come around. The large picture of this, like him having a temple, it failing, his Padawans dying, him exiling himself, his inevitable return, we using a force projection and then dying because of that effort. Those large ideas, I'm actually okay with. I'm okay with that because they could have been done in a very beautiful way. But if you go anything below that surface, though, if you look at the dialogue, if you look at if you look at the actual narrative of it, it is horrible. The only redeeming aspect of that entire arc was, I think, his interaction with Yoda, which I loved.
Yeah,
I
that
did
was
love
actually
that.
good. Doesn't make any
Um,
sense since he cut himself off from the Force and now he randomly didn't, but I'll
well,
just roll with it.
right before that, he had turned the Force back on, I guess. It showed in it like a scene or two before he'd actually reawoken the Force within himself. I just wish they would have done so many things differently. I mean, just almost everything. But the large ideas that are there, I think were the correct choice. It's just the execution around them was
The
just terrible.
correct choice?
So once again, the large plot points, like just the the idea of it, but the execution, the narrative, everything was terrible. I'm okay with him in some way failing Ben Solo and then Ben Solo turning on him and the rest of the Jedi Temple. That idea, that concept is fine. How they executed it in having him standing over Ben with his lightsaber drawn and ignited, and like he was going to kill him, and their only justification was in a moment of
Doubt.
doubt or in a moment of instinct or something like that, how they phrased it, he was going to strike him down. That's what I'm talking about the execution. The idea is fine, the execution is terrible, absolutely terrible.
So there's one point in this movie where I knew they didn't understand Luke Skywalker fundamentally as a character. And it's when Rey is trying to tell Luke about how there's still goodness inside of Kylo Ren, and he's just kind of like, no, he's lost. We can't bring him back, blah blah blah. I'm like, this is the character who stood and looked Darth Vader and the Emperor in the eye and was like, there's good in him, and I'm gonna bring him back. But now you expect me to believe that all hope, get the fuck out of here, dude. If there was one character that you could not sway this way, it's Luke fucking Skywalker.
If anything, it should have been written the other way around, right? Rey should have been the one that was like, we have to take him out, we have to stop this. But he
Yes.
should have been the one that actually, and not only him, but Leia. She even gives up on her own son,
Yes.
which was, I think, even worse than Luke doing it. She's like, it's like her quote was something along the line of, she tried for so long, but now she's given up. Snoke has him. Like, that's your son. Like, it's just such a hard turn against who their characters are just naturally.
Yeah, and on top of the fact, like, again, going back to Snoke, what did he do to get such a freaking hold on Ben? Like, at least when, like, the prequels, you saw Anakin hanging around Palpatine, Palpatine showing favor to Anakin, like, them having intimate talks with each other, having, like, time alone from the Jedi Council where he could, like, whisper sweet nothings in his ear and, like, manipulate him. We're just told, like, we're introduced to Snoke in the previous movie. Again, mysterious character. Then we actually meet Snoke in this movie, and there's, like, nothing about how Snoke and Ben, like, got together, how Ben sees Snoke as this leader, and why he chose to go to the dark side. Because, like, from everything they tell us and they show us, it's just basically like, Snoke is like, hey, you want to be like Darth Vader? I can help you with that. And Ben just jumps on the bandwagon real quick. It's like, hell yeah! I love Vader. I want to be just like my granddad.
I agree. And I feel that if the sequel trilogy was the only Star Wars you had, so take Star Wars away and let's say that this is a brand new IP, they're kind of doing the same thing that they did with the original trilogy, because they didn't go into a lot of detail around the Emperor and why he was in charge and all this other stuff. It was just it. That's just what it is. That's the story. Deal with it. Then you can do that in a vacuum. You don't have that privilege when you're creating the eighth of a franchise. You're entitled to be able to provide context and backstory that is larger than just the movie itself, or maybe just the trilogy that you're working in. You owe it to the viewers, because they're usually more aware than just those movies. Like, I would be hard pressed to find people that just watch the sequel trilogy and no other Star Wars movies. I
Yep.
maybe not, like, maybe there's some that watched those first and then went back and saw the other Star Wars movies, but that can't be very common to have people just watch the sequel trilogy and be like, you know what, that's enough Star Wars. I think I'm good. I don't want to watch any more.
Yeah, and then, like, on top of that is, like, you gotta think is like, okay, so did Luke Skywalker know that Snoke, like, and Ben, like, chatted, have been, like, force type intimate? Like, why would he decide to teach him then? Like, it's just, they made a plot hole by bringing Snoke in and not explaining anything.
I
Like,
don't think that Snoke really matters, to be honest.
That's a problem. He should.
That's what I mean.
His story should be a major part of episode 8. We should get all that exposition.
Should we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, here's the thing. Like, didn't really get exposition on who the Emperor is.
I just made this point. So yeah, so you have that. I will reiterate. You have that luxury when you're creating the first of its kind, right? So when you're making a story in a vacuum, when you have no other context, but it's been 30 years, close to 40 years, right? Now you're entitled to provide context outside of the trilogy that you're working on, because your assumption is the majority of the people watching are going to have that that context outside of it. They're going to have the same questions, even if they're not as in depth as maybe people like us would have. They would still have those questions. They would still want to know how it ties in to the other freaking 7 movies that have been made already.
So, actually, that kind of sums it up. So, like, the point that I'm trying to make is because, like, I hear what you're saying, but I think you're fundamentally wrong because to me, it doesn't matter if you have the exposition for who this character is. The problem is the character fucking sucks.
I think he sucks because there's no exposition.
Okay, but like, flip it back on its head.
Mhm.
The Emperor has no exposition, and nobody would call him a bad character. Years of added exposition that have come since don't really. I was gonna say they don't matter, but obviously they matter. But like, he was a great character before that. Like,
I mean, we may.
that. It's not that you have exposition. It's how you deal with the character.
So I think that if we didn't have the other Star Wars movies and this trilogy sequel was all we had, um, I think we would have a different perspective. It's hard to see that perspective, of course, because we have so much context, we have so much history with the franchise. But I believe that although the Emperor might not make as much of an impact, well, sorry, Snoke might not have made as much of an impact as the Emperor does, because they really hold the Emperor until the last movie of the trilogy, not the second. I still think that we would hold him in higher regard. Like, we would just accept who he is as a character. We would accept and hang on every word, and we would just understand what he says as gold, and as um just immutable, right? But because we know there are 7 other freaking movies that have gone on to explain the Star Wars universe, and we don't understand how he fits into it at all, and we've seen this character before, we've seen it done better. I think they really dropped the ball here in explaining why we should care about him. They needed the same thing I complained about in 7. They foregoed sections of the movie that could have been used to provide some critical backstory and context to these characters to make their decisions and their motivations a lot more important. And we would hang on every word. We would care about him dying, maybe, right? Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he was fooled. Like, just, but it all comes as weightless. It all just doesn't matter because we have no idea who this dude is.
Yeah, because in the first set of trilogy, in the original trilogy, it's okay that the Emperor didn't have backstory. It's okay we didn't have that information because he, the Emperor, was who he's always been. He's been behind the scenes, pulling the strings, and he's just out to gain power. But with Snoke, it's like, how did he come to power? Who is this random person who seems as strong or stronger than Palpatine, who we've seen before? And like a lot of those questions, and then like, how did he manipulate Ben Kenobi away from Luke Skywalker to the point where Luke Skywalker is ready to kill him? Like,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
no problem.
So, I recently subscribed to Marvel Unlimited,
Oh, did you?
and I did. And as part of their comics offering, they have all of the Star Wars comics. And as it turns out, last year they published a Kylo Ren's origin story comic book, which explains to you how Kylo Ren is involved with Snoke before the movies, how he becomes Kylo Ren, and how the whole bit about him burning down the Jedi Temple and fighting Luke Skywalker and all that kind of shit happens. And as it turns out, Kylo Ren has been hanging out buddy buddy with Snoke in this, like, I don't even know what you call it, dude. It's like a greenhouse, but it's an entire planet. And they just kind of walk through the flowers together all the time, and he's like whispering sweet dark side nothings into his ear. And so, like, they essentially have the same relationship that Vader had with Palpatine. And he's like slowly bringing him in till that moment where he finally goes, okay, now I need you to go over there and kill Luke Skywalker. Wait, what did you just say? Do it. All right. I guess we're. And what's fucked up though is, like, when you read in the comic book, it really seems like he didn't actually burn down the temple at all. He wakes up and it's just on fire.
Yeah.
Like, so he spends this whole fucking movie claiming that he burned the motherfucker to the ground, but he didn't. Snoke did it, and then just kind of made him think that he did it. What he did do, though, is think that he killed Luke Skywalker and didn't, which pissed off the other apprentices at the temple, who then hunt him down. And as he's trying to, like, get in buddy buddy with the Knights of Ren, and turns out the Knights of Ren are led by some dude named Ren, thus the name, who he then ends up killing. And then just like, now the Knights of Ren are my Knights of Ren. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but okay.
Make them the Knights of Ben.
I picture the Knights of Ben, and I just picture like Monty Python. Cruel.
I don't know. Like, even given that background information from, like, they could have added like a 3-minute cutscene or like something that would have been just like, okay, this happened. That's fine. It's great. That works.
I agree. So another opportunity, because I think it's a cool story. I think that if they spent some time like sowing that seed, explaining that Snoke was actually behind the manipulation. He tricked Kylo into thinking that Kylo actually did it. So his rise to the dark side was actually like forced on him. Like, that would have been a really cool narrative, I think. That would have actually been really, really awesome.
Yeah. And like, you would understand why he has this hesitance of like him being in the dark side. Like, is this really his place? Yeah, so that was an interesting backstory, but like, if you even take that step further, like, you don't even need to give him all that exposition to make it interesting, or to like make you be like, oh, so that's why this guy is the leader of the First Order and like Ben Kenobi is taken under his wing. You could have been like straight up, oh, he's I'm like told us he's Darth Plagueis. Like, Darth Plagueis reincarnated. Like, straight up. Like, they could have said that, boom, done. Like, that's all the real work they could have done for Snoke, and like, people would have understood that, oh, he's the person who taught Darth Sidious. Like, he's the person above the Emperor. So he already probably knows how to do all these Machiavellian schemes and manipulations to another degree.
So that's a really good point, John, because I remember watching these movies, and I remember thinking, oh my god, is that Plagueis? Like, are they going to try to make it to where like Sidious thought he killed Plagueis, but actually Plagueis found a way to cheat death. He achieved his goal, and he came back to enact revenge and take over. Like, that would have been the most incredible story. And then maybe Sidious was still alive in episode 9, but then they battle and you see two Siths battling against each other for the first time in a Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah, and like, oh dude, you can even have it go down a step further. It's like, okay, keep the back storyline for Rey that she's descended from Darth Sidious, right? Plagueis is going after Rey as revenge to go
Oh
against
my
Sidious.
god! Yes, of course. And then at the end, you have Plagueis and his Padawan Kylo Ren, but then Rey is forced to team up with Sidious because at the end of the day, Sidious probably has less power. Like maybe Sidious isn't as omnipotent as he was in Episode 9. Maybe he's still like barely alive, but he's still trying to kill Plagueis because Plagueis has these dark arts that, if they run wild, would like just like really disrupt the force in the universe or the natural order of things. And Plagueis comes to his senses and realizes that no one should have this power, so they have to fight against each other. And it's like just a weird like plot twist. And god damn it, that would have been so much better. God damn it, it would have been
like,
so much better. It would have been so complex.
And like on top of that, you could have an excuse to be like, this is why you've never seen this level of force power, because Darth Plagueis is someone who now we know is like one of the strongest force users that we've ever seen, even strong enough that Darth Sidious didn't know that he was still alive. That's why he was able to force connect to Padawan level force users. You know what I mean? It would explain a lot without explaining a lot.
That would have been so incredible.
It could have been a legit throwaway line. And like, you could have made it even more badass. Like, after they took out all the Knights of Ren around him, or whoever the red dudes
or actually
were.
Like had the Knights of Ren do something.
Like, yeah, exactly. And then after that, like after he got cut by the lightsaber in half, he starts cackling maniacally.
Oh my god.
And then he comes back, and then they have to escape the ship because Darth Plagueis is coming for them. And that's why the First Order is still going strong, because Darth Plagueis, aka like also known as Snoke, is controlling the First Order, and like they haven't found a way to kill him. They actually have to go to, say, like another plot line. They can go to Darth Sidious when they find him
to find out
how
to
fuck that planet.
Yeah, like
how to take him
like
out.
Sidious like is so disfigured and destroyed, but he still knows that Plagueis is alive. So he spent his exile studying ancient Sith runes and secrets to find a way to actually kill Plagueis, because he realizes that even though he still trusts in the dark side and he still trusts in the Sith ways, this is so unnatural that it's even banned by Sith lore and by Sith religion. And then imagine this scene.
He has too much power.
Imagine in episode 8 if she cuts Snoke in half and Snoke starts laughing. And then you see his body start to form back into itself and like fix itself. And then you see the other troopers around them, like their helmets come off or something, or like while they're fighting, their helmets come off, and it's like an undead stormtrooper. Like he's been able to manipulate these like mercenary class troopers and keep them alive and imbue them with this like unnatural, like undying strength and ability. So they're chopping off limbs and they're still swinging and they're still taking them out, and they actually beat Rey and Kylo back, and he wins that battle. Like, oh dude, it's so much better.
I can't handle it.
Guys, you're describing a good movie.
Dude, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And then guess what?
It's
my master plan throughout all of this that I won't shut up about. Luke nails it when he's at the scene with the tree. Luke nails it when he says that the Jedi have to die, because Luke realizes that both the Sith religion and the Jedi religion are wrong, and the only true path is balance, and that is a gray Jedi. And I won't shut up about him. I know that. I keep bringing up every damn podcast, but it is my freaking life to see a movie about just someone who is truly balanced in the Force, and that is just a pure gray Jedi. And that's what he starts to impart into Rey and start teaching her to use both aspects of it, right?
Yeah, because that's what Yoda was telling him. Teach her everything, including your failures, especially his failures.
Yeah, and Yoda
And
says like there's nothing in those books that Rey doesn't already have. I think that's a little bullshit. I mean, come
yeah,
like
it's a little far
I think
fetched.
like she does take the books. Like you find that she does steal the books anyway, but like come on. I mean, she's not that all powerful. She's not that much of a
I
Mary
mean,
Sue, to use Dean's.
To be fair and like 100% truthful about how they portrayed Rey, she was 100% perfect, good, and uncorruptible from start to finish. And
Yep.
that was my problem.
Yep.
That was 100% my problem. Like, if you can't show me the main hero or heroine having any sort of strife or dilemma in their actions, thought process, uh, in their desires, like, what? How can I relate to them?
Yep.
It's one of my problems that I have with Superman, but at least with Superman, he's good to a fault, and like they show that. But like with Ray, it's just like she's just perfect. She always gets a get out of jail free card, a cop out. Like, dude, I would have been okay with him like Ray accidentally killing Chewie and her having to live with that. And that's why she's like, "Oh, I can't go to the dark side because I don't want to feel what I felt when I accidentally killed Chewie with such rage." You know what I mean? Like something.
Yeah, if they would have just written her at all deeper, it would have been better. God, now I'm all hyped up on this like imaginary freaking fanfic that
I
I'm
mean,
thinking of in my
we
head.
could start a fanfic for him.
It's
We can start a
it
fanfic.
full just fall on deaf ears. So, but
I mean, it'd still be fine.
well, speaking of Chewie,
We could
briefly,
have fun with it.
you reminded me of another to Dean's point, another example of them not knowing any of the characters. Chewie would have eaten that porg right away.
Fuck yeah, he
Oh
would.
yeah,
Hell yeah,
he
he
wouldn't
would
have
have.
cared
Also,
at all.
side note, fuck porgs. Porgs are fucking stupid.
Yeah,
They're
like
whatever.
Porgs are the more obvious Ewoks of this trilogy. It's like we need some sort of cute plush animal that we can push on people for sales. Let's make a penguin. What was it, like a penguin otter hybrid?
It's stupid as hell, is what it is.
Supposedly they were only there for a very functional reason though, because the island that they filmed on had a bunch of birds, and they just couldn't digitally remove them in every single frame, so they decided to actually put porgs where these birds were. That's the story, right? That's what we got.
That's a bullshit lie. And I mean, it's a very creative and thought out lie, but it's a bullshit.
It probably
lie.
started at that, but then they were
That
like,
was
This
a
is-
fucking lie.
it probably
Like,
started with like,
straight up.
hey, let's put our own creatures in that fit the lore, so we're not just putting like normal Earth
Fuck
birds.
fit the lore. They don't fit any lore. Like all that was is for a fucking cash grab. I'm sorry.
I'm sure. I mean,
I'm sorry to
they
cut
didn't
you off.
turn their. I'm sure that once they started down that thought process, they were like, "Wait a second, let's make them real cute and quirky, and we'll sell them." So I'm sure they quickly jumped on that. Like they were like, "Okay, how can
They
we
did.
monetize this?"
See, if they were smart, instead of porgs, they should have had a whole bunch of fucking baby Yodas rolling around that bitch.
Like that's just the Yoda planet.
Oh my god! But never explain it at all. Just a bunch of little
Just
Yodas
walking around.
Like,
Can you imagine how mad we'd be?
Actually, let's take it a step further. Take out the porgs. Not so many baby Yodas, but you like throughout the movie, you just see a baby Yoda just fucking with Luke from time to time in the back, like just like peeking its head out, like crucial scenes and shit. Like force pulling Luke's chair or like fucking with his with
So
his
just
milk and
fall
shit
on
like
his
that.
ass.
Yeah, just dude, like that kind of shit. I'm okay with that kind of comedic relief, and like that's like, and then like in the Mandalorian, they just like sell it 100%, like go ham on it. But anyways, it's just a lot of things with this movie, as Jordan keeps saying, was like made in a vacuum, and like there's so much wasted potential. Like literally with the building blocks that you had from the previous movie, no matter how you felt about it, there's so many ways that you could spitball ideas because you have a new trilogy that you can work with. You have different world building blocks. Like how many years is this after the previous trilogy?
30.
30 years. So that's 30 years where things could happen. 30 years of characters and character development that you could have played with, and you just wasted it all. Like you didn't go any interesting way with it. I mean, you went interesting as in terrible, but not interesting as in like forcing someone to think. I mean, isn't that what art is for? Is to invoke thought, invoke feeling, not anger predominantly.
I
Because like,
was gonna say
if
it
that,
evoked some
yeah,
feelings.
if that was their goal, like they hit the nail on the head. But I'm talking about, like the whole reason why Star Wars, the franchise, became this Goliath of a franchise is because it invoked wonder. It invoked a sense of why we look up at the stars and like what is possible if we were actually to go out to space, and like played with our imaginations and gave us something to be like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. I would love to be a Jedi, or I would love to fly in a spaceship and shoot this stuff, or like shoot people out of the sky and have dogfights in space and see these wondrous planets, and like be a chosen one, even though I feel like my life is mundane, just like Luke was. But they just rehashed the old and try to slap some new paint on it, and everybody saw through it. Like you could feel like there was no heart or no soul there. There was no real direction. And I think that was probably the biggest problem that they had with this trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's abundantly clear by the way they treat the characters. An example of this is killing Akbar in the most unceremonious way ever.
God damn it. God damn it.
That entire
What?
Holdo scene should have been Akbar. She should have never been a character. It should have been Akbar doing all of that, and then Akbar sacrificing himself. Like, I'm not saying he would do the same stupid thing to teach Poe a lesson. He's not dumb. He's brilliant. But I'm saying like he would be the one to make sure that everyone got off safely, and then if he had to sacrifice himself for the betterment of the resistance. Like, imagine Akbar in that final scene. Like, I would cry, dude. I think I would straight up cry man tears if it was Akbar that was sending that final goodbye and blasting his ship into light speed into the freaking Snoke's cruiser and the other ones. That would have been so brilliant. Instead of killing off a character that they just bring in, no one's ever heard before, no, absolutely no connection. Their only development for her was to just piss you off because she just seemed like just some dictator, you know. Everyone, all these characters that you have grown, or all these characters that they've tried to make you trust, like Poe and Finn, and then Rose, I guess, which we'll talk about after this. They, these characters that represent kind of represent you, they all turn on her. So her death in the end is just whatever. It doesn't mean anything. Like, just, it should have been Akbar.
So I'm glad that you brought up his unceremonious death, because one thing that I want to talk about is how you guys feel about what they did with Luke.
The fact that Luke dies, I'm okay with.
Okay.
How Luke dies, I'm kind of okay with. Everything else, I am not okay with.
No. So, from my point of view, having Luke die in that fashion didn't seem like it held the weight that they thought it would. Like it was plain and simple. It was dumb to me because, like, okay, he uses his force powers to the extent that it depletes his life energy, so he can force project himself to a planet far, far, far away. On top of the fact, before he actually goes out and fights all of Ben Kenobi's whole army, he has a heart to heart conversation with Leia.
Mhm.
And like they actually touch. So I'm just like, wait, so he's a force projection that they can't hit and he can't cut, but he can touch Leia? Like, I don't, what are the boundaries of this? It's like there were so many questions around it, and then like he just disappears. It's just no. I would have rather him physically be there, physically call out Kylo Ren to the point where Kylo Ren tells him not to shoot, and he has to take him out himself to like flex his muscles and shit. Like, I took out Snoke, I can take out Luke Skywalker, no problem. And then I would have been okay with him ripping off Episode 4 and like Luke kill it, like letting Kylo Ren kill him as penance for what he started. That would have made more sense. You know what I mean? But no, we don't get any of that. We don't get anything close to that.
I will say that historically, my view on this is that the entire scene setup and payoff for his death is stupid as shit.
Mm-hmm.
However, on rewatching this movie, I have to say my feelings about it have changed. And now I'm super happy about what they did with Luke, because my thought as he was fading away was I kind of got a little choked up. I'm not gonna lie. There was some man
Yeah.
tears rolling down my cheek
Yeah.
because I was so happy that they couldn't hurt him anymore.
Oh my god. God damn it.
I was just like,
Just put that horse down, huh?
like, I was honestly like, just rest now, sweet prince. They can't hurt you in the
Stupid.
afterlife.
Leave him. They're finally going to leave him alone.
Like, I can't even express to you how much watching this movie and what they did to Luke Skywalker hurt me as a person. Like, just fucking hurt me as a person. Like, I mean, I was gonna kind of save this for our wrapping up our overall thoughts on the movie, but like, this movie was so bad that I refused to watch the next one. And as a Star Wars fan, like that was a significant change in perspective for me. Like, as much as I didn't like 7, it in no way deterred me from watching 8. As much as I disliked 2, no way deterred me from watching 3. And upon rewatches, as much as I disliked those movies, I was still headlong to keep going. Not only did this movie deter me from watching episode 9 in the theaters, which I never did, I kind of don't want to watch episode 9 now.
Yeah, it's too bad. We gotta watch
Too
it.
bad. We're doing it. But Dean, you didn't watch.
This is how I cancel this podcast.
Oh my god, we're so close. I see the finish line. We have 2 movies.
Just like, nope, we're not doing it. It's over.
You didn't watch episode 9 till Disney Plus, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's over. That's almost a year later.
Yeah. Yeah. It was even worse than I imagined.
I mean, I remember your Discord messages. You were not that happy while you were watching it.
Ooh. Ooh.
Angry Kermit gif.
That episode's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we'll have a lot. I mean, I think that's going to be a long episode because there's that in that movie. A lot does happen.
I mean,
unlike
in
this
fairness, a lot of things happen in this movie. Just none of it fucking matters.
I don't think a lot happens in this movie at all.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot doesn't happen because like the main plots of the movie are like resistance is running, and the whole movie they're like escaping. Like other than like Poe sacrificing their bomber brigade to kill one fucking ship. And then there's just subplots within it.
So, thoughts on Finn's heroic effort to save the Resistance and everybody in it?
Can
and
we back that up and say thoughts on Rose
nope,
and
I
the
don't.
in the forced love interest there?
Unnecessary. I'll say this right now, and anybody can like email me or message me about this comment. Rose was not needed in any way, shape, or form, and the fact like the chick on the bomber brigade who like actually set the bombs off, and you see her necklace and ties her to Rose is like not needed. You didn't need that. You could have just basically have Rose give a throwaway line, just basically say, "My sister was on that bomber that just died." Like you didn't need to have that damn necklace tying them together
Rose's part should have
and say,
ended after she apprehended Finn from trying to desert.
"Yeah,
She should have just been like, "Okay,
like
I'm giving you to
seriously."
Poe. I'm gonna walk away now." That should have been all of
It
it.
should have just been.
Am I the
It
only
should have
one
been.
who would rather watch a movie about Rose's sister?
Dude, the small screen time her sister was in, she was way more interesting than Rose was the entire time.
Right?
She was
Yeah.
badass, man. That scene was cool. I'll give it to him. You know that the bomber itself is dumb, but that scene of her sacrificing herself and the remote detonator falling, and then you think it got past her, but then she clutches it and turns it on. Like that was a really cool scene. And then everything else was trash.
Rose is
Yeah.
a terrible character. I hate
Terrible.
Rose.
So much so that
Uh,
they backed out of that entire subplot in episode 9. Like they hit the brakes hard because everyone hated it.
Well, yeah. How do you not hate Rose just fundamentally as a character?
it's not that I hate her. Like I don't hate her. It's just she's inconsequential in so many different ways. She doesn't add anything to the movie. She actually causes more strife to the plot and like character interactions by her being. And I'm not trying to be like an asshole about it, but like literally you could take her out of the movie and nothing would change.
That's not true,
Um
because if you took her out of the movie, then um, Finn would be dead. That giant gun would have exploded, and only God knows what would have happened at that point.
How'd they still have that fucking cannon when in the shot before that it looked like all of their ships were damaged? And all of those freaking ATM 6s, the gorilla walkers, which are cool. I actually like how they look. But
Speaking of which, I'm going to go on record and say Rose and Poe are both fucking traitors to the Resistance. By like, they had so much time to charge that fucking gun and blow it up. Poe bails on it fucking immediately. And they had way more than enough time to get closer than he did.
Poe bails on it
And
because he learned his lesson, Dean. It comes full circle.
fuck it. Don't even start with me how stupid that shit is. But even if I were to be like, okay, well, Poe's not going to do something stupid for the Resistance, Finn didn't learn a goddamn thing. He goes straight for it and would have made it if not for this traitorous bitch Rose who comes out of nowhere, crashes into her own ally in an effort to save him, and gets the fucking Resistance base blown to shit, which very well could have killed Leia. What a fuck. You know what?
You know, most people remember their first kiss, and usually it's a pretty good moment.
I hate where you're going with this already.
You know,
Keep going. I want to see where this leads.
I remember my first kiss. It was a little awkward thinking back. I'm not going to describe it, but
Thank
sometimes it's
God.
awkward, sometimes it's momentous. You feel great afterwards. Um, Knowing Finn's backstory, this would have been his first kiss of his life, and I feel so bad for him that that this is the memory that he'll never forget. is this awkward little kiss that she stole from him. She stole his innocence in this movie.
Ew.
To be fair, we don't know that he wasn't macking on the other stormtroopers.
Damn.
Do they
That's
Do they
What?
allow fraternizing between stormtroopers?
Probably not, but
they don't
that doesn't
allow
mean they're not doing it.
they don't allow fraternizing in the prisons, but doesn't mean it doesn't happen. They don't encourage fraternizing in the Navy, but if those ship voyages can be long.
Plus, I mean, we know that there are male and female stormtroopers now, so there's somebody for everybody.
Yeah, maybe I'm just assuming, but I mean, he was a loser stormtrooper, so I doubt that he would have gotten anything.
Speaking
before
of
that.
loser stormtroopers, let's talk about Phasma for a second, shall we?
Oh my god.
I love your segues, by the way.
Nailed it. First of all, can we just talk about how fucking stupid that silver plating is? Specifically because that shit deflects blaster bolts. Why doesn't everybody have that?
I think it's Beskar. That's why. That's why it's rare.
Well, you think?
I'm Googling it now. I'm pretty sure it's Beskar armor. Like the same thing that the Mandalorian uses. I'm probably going to be wrong. Am I wrong? I don't want to be wrong.
I hope you're wrong. I like it when Jordan's wrong.
Damn it, I'm wrong. It's chromium. So just wait, what? No. It's just chrome. Okay, but what's the actual metal? Is it not canonical that it was Beskar?
Obviously not. You're wrong again.
Phasma's armor was the unique stormtrooper armor for the First Order Captain Phasma. Phasma had the armor polished in chromium, okay, which had been salvaged from a Naboo yacht.
What?
That had once belonged to Emperor Palpatine of the Galactic Empire.
What?
Empire. So it's those ugly ass Naboo freaking yachts and stuff that we complained about in the prequels, the super chromed out ships. It's the same chrome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for giving us that information.
That's even worse.
God, I really wish you hadn't told me that, but that just makes my point all the more valid. Like, why isn't everybody decked out in this shit? It's clearly not rare.
Well,
don't tell me it's rare.
I think it's maybe rare.
Stop it. You know exactly what happened.
It's obviously not cost effective.
They had a cool idea for an armor, just rolled with it, and didn't consider how stupid it is.
Dude, and
you know that's what happened.
It's just sad that that fight was just so terrible. Like, Finn had no business winning that fight. Absolutely no business at all winning that.
What are you talking about? He fucked up Kylo Ren. You think he can't take Phasma out?
He was a janitor, dude.
And a stormtrooper.
He was a stormtrooper janitor.
So, that's another thing that I wanted to bring up. Like, do stormtroopers do double duty like that? Like, they're not just soldiers, but they're also like janitors and...
They probably do mess work. Yeah, sure.
Kind of dumb, don't you think?
Yeah.
Hey, this isn't the Empire of the Old. This is First Order.
They're way dumber.
They need all the help they can get.
Jack of all trades. Yeah, their stormtroopers are Swiss Army knives.
Oh, C-3PO's hole had a chromium finish. That's stupid.
Dude, she has way more backstory than she freaking needs.
Everybody has way more backstory. That's never explained!
Wow. There's a lot of backstory. This page is huge.
He's still going.
I'm so impressed that there's this much. And I'm
Can
sure
you tell us about how she's force sensitive?
I'm sure I could find it. It's just sad. And I keep bringing this up. It's one of my biggest issues with the sequel trilogy. They just never give any backstory. No, they don't explain the characters. I don't even need flashbacks. I would like flashbacks. I don't require them. I need dialogue. During that fight, they should have had dialogue. Like, it should have been a longer fight. It should have been more treacherous.
Oh, bro, but he has a sick one-liner burn on her right at the end before she falls into
Oh, what was the dumb thing that he said
fire.
again? What was it? Oh,
You are
rebels.
always scum. Rebel scum. No!
Fuck you, dude. You were taken as a damn child to be an. Finn is just a terribly written character. He's so terribly written. He's not what you would have if you just plucked an Imperial soldier out from the ranks. He's absolutely not a representation of what that would be realistically.
Yeah, you are correct. Like he's mostly he's not a standalone character. He has to play off others, which was what makes him a bad character.
It would have been great writing if they
That's
made
what
it.
makes everybody a bad character.
He could have been a great character if they actually wrote him well, right? Which is a dumb phrase, of course, everyone can be a great character if they're written well. But what I'm trying to say is something that I brought up in the last podcast about episode 7 is he acts like he was a volunteer stormtrooper and he had one mission. He's like, I'm good, guys, actually. Can you just sign my volunteer hour waiver from my high school? I'm good. But he's not, like, there's no PTSD, there's no dread, there's no depth in his character at all. His motivation in this movie, the one realistic motivation he had was when he was trying to GTFO off the ship. That was realistic to me. When he was like, fuck this, everything's going down, I'm getting into an escape pod and I'm leaving. That was believable.
Everything is awful.
They just had they missed an incredible opportunity with a really good actor too to provide a lot of depth and just an incredible amount of complexity within him to see what it's like to have someone transition from being indoctrinated into the Empire your entire life and then transition, like finding out the way that you lived your life and the mantra that you were raised on is wrong, and then struggling with that as you transition to become a rebel and then transition against everything. Like, maybe
Just become your own person.
it's just like it was just terrible. It's always been terrible.
All right. So everybody likes Finn. So let's talk about Leia for a second, shall we? Because I just want to point out some of the incredible lines that she has in this. Like in the very beginning of the movie, wipe that nervous expression off your face, 3PO. Okay.
Yeah,
Three
that was a good one.
3PO literally can't change his facial expression in any way, shape, or form. Cool. Like that. Big fan. Or how about right at the end? What are you all looking at me for? Follow him. I don't know, General. What are we looking at you for? You're only in fucking charge here. What I'm trying to say, the fuck happened with Leia in this movie? And actually, maybe even more importantly, why didn't they just let her go? They let Luke Skywalker slowly walk into the night, never to come back. And yet Leia, who actually died in real life, they're like, you know what, we really need her for the next movie.
Well, so I can go ahead and field that one there, Coach. Because
Thanks, son. I know you got this one.
They didn't fucking know what they were doing. They had no idea how to write her character. Another example of what you brought up. They just didn't understand these characters at all. It's like they hadn't watched any Star Wars movie. They didn't talk to any real fans. And I don't know if it was.
I think you meant real people. They didn't talk to any real people.
Thank you. Yes, real people. Now, what part of this, what part of that dialogue do you think could have actually been her inability to deliver lines like she used to? Do you think that she was still capable of being a great actress at that moment in her life, or do you think that she might have lost something along the way? Because I know she struggled a lot throughout her life with a lot of different, like, substance abuses and things like that. and she definitely comes off in this movie as very stiff. So the dialogue is bad, but her acting is very stiff. God rest her soul. But I wonder if there was a battle between writing expressive dialogue and maybe her inability to deliver it reasonably.
I'm gonna go with 95% of the problem is Ryan Johnson. 3% I'm gonna give to Kathleen Kennedy.
Just can't let her go.
1% I'm gonna give to whoever she's bouncing lines off. And the last 1% I'm gonna put on us, the audience.
Okay. 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 I mean, I don't know if so no responsibility, right? None.
She's a national treasure. How dare you? That's my response.
I know. I am like I'm walking on eggshells saying this because I don't want to obviously tarnish her beautiful reputation, but I think that I do think that it did play a certain part of that. So the shitty dialogue she may have been given was also delivered in a less than desirable manner personally.
Bruh, what is a director's job? It's not a trick question. That's right.
I
to
thought
direct.
I thought it was rhetorical.
No.
I thought it was a rhetorical question. Yes, to direct, to provide direction, right, on all aspects of the film.
For
yes,
said movie or
that's
film,
correct.
yes.
So when you have an actress who's been in Hollywood for decades, who's not delivering her lines the way that you want them, do you just go, "Oh, fuck it, let's just roll with it"? No, you do not. So for you to sit there and be like, "Well, Carrie Fisher was just stiff in this movie," okay? The fuck did you do about it, Johnson?
Sure. I don't know. I can only postulate. I don't know the environment.
Because, I mean, like, we can sit here and we can be like, well, maybe Carrie Fisher was getting on in age and the drugs are really doing her in, but that's just random guessing.
Mm-hmm.
What I can definitely tell you is that Ryan Johnson directed a movie in which she has some stiff lines. And even though they were all about covering up the puffins with porgs, they just let her ride.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
That's why I thought you hate an ass bitch.
I'm being objective, but even Luke, I thought, wasn't directed well. So if we want to have that perspective, if we want to have that perspective, right now, I think that obviously Mark Hamill is an incredible voice actor. I think that he's
a national treasure,
and I think that he's a good actor. I wouldn't say that he's like the greatest actor of all time. I think he's a good actor.
Okay, cool. So it's just you and me now, John. So
Jesus Christ.
Not a groundbreaking actor. He's a groundbreaking voice actor, but there are significant differences. It's two different fields there, right? But in this movie, I thought that he also came off as pretty stiff and didn't deliver his lines as well as I thought he could have, or have the same type of character that the Luke that I know would have. And I think that that's not on him so much as I believe that it was on Carrie Fisher. But I believe that was
what the fuck, you sexist motherfucker. So you mean
sexist?
Me
what
that...
the fuck? What? How's
so
that sexist?
Carrie Fisher over here? Oh, it's all Carrie Fisher's fault. Mark Hamill. Well, I mean, he's a bro, so what? It's probably not his fault.
No, I think that he had significantly more dialogue than she did. So maybe just having less dialogue, having less time to interact with the character or to be able to deliver those lines. I don't know what happened there, but I'm not saying that Mark Hamill had a groundbreaking performance either. He didn't. He definitely didn't. So if the person at fault was Ryan Johnson, and that's the only constant between them, then that's fine. He also failed a Mark Hamill as well.
You have failed this production. Let's do an exercise here really quick. Let's call this stiff acting or not stiff acting. Carrie Fisher, stiff acting or no stiff acting?
Are you giving an example, or are you just saying in general?
No, I'm asking you to answer the question. Was her acting stiff or not?
Yes.
Mark Hamill.
I would say yes.
Okay. John Boyega.
I would say yes.
Okay. Whomever the actress who plays Rose is.
She had just such terrible lines. I'm struggling, and I'm also struggling with Finn too. I said yes to him, but
okay, but are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
Yes, like, the constant. Yes, the constant is the writers. The constant is Ryan Johnson.
Like, we know for a fact that even okay, let's just say that Carrie Fisher was. I mean, like, we know that she wasn't in the best health. Like, we know what happened. Yada 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 yada. So let me just give you a mulligan on that one. We know how good of an actor Mark Hamill is. So
I wouldn't
when you
say
watch this
he's
movie,
like a groundbreaking actor.
I mean, no, like he's not the creme de la
I would say
creme of act,
I would say
but like
pretty middle road.
he's not a bad actor, and
No, he's not.
okay. Let me put it to you this way: he's better than this performance.
Yes, I can absolutely agree with that.
Okay, so we know that. We know that Carrie Fisher is better than this performance.
Yes.
I would argue that we can look at John Boyega's other work and know that he's better than the performance.
Mm-hmm.
So it stands to reason then that the most logical issue is in your direction and the writing.
I think that is true for everybody but Carrie Fisher. I think that
Why?
I think that yes, Carrie Fisher also suffered from terrible direction, but I do think that there was a little more there. She was very monotonous, or no, sorry, her tone was very flat, right? She's very monotone, not a lot of energy, and it just feels like everything was first take. It was just, oh, that's good enough. All right, next scene. Maybe yes, it's 100% direction, but it just feels like there's also something there too, just innately within her as an actress. Just in this very specific moment in her life, this isolated moment in her acting career.
That is completely nonsensical, and I
Hey, you want to be objective? That's me being objective.
yeah, I do want you to be objective. I'm waiting for it.
Well, so like I said, I do believe that there was terrible directing, and that definitely made a huge impact on Carrie Fisher's acting. But I also think that there was something else there. I think that there was also something physical or mental that was there that would have prevented her, even with a good director, from really bringing that magic back and selling those lines. It just felt off to me. I think it was still a good
The whole movie
performance.
feels off.
I know. I still think, but that's also true in episode 7, though.
No.
Like, I didn't love her acting in episode 7 either.
I don't love her acting in episode 7 either, but it's way better than this one.
It is. It definitely is. It's also a few years difference.
So why are you so intent on making this about Carrie Fisher?
Saying her her stiff acting, I think, outside of the others in the film, could have been done, or could have also been in enhanced or influenced by other things outside just the the director. I'm digging a grave
Hold
here.
on.
I'm gonna die on this cross, but
Yeah, hold on, I'm ordering.
are you actually getting through?
Woo! Amazon comes through, baby.
You got it?
I got one. So what say we wrap this bitch up? I don't want any more negativity. I got a
Anything
PS5.
else? You're gonna end the night good. Anything else that I want to talk about? Let me look at my notes. What about you, John? Is there anything else that you want to talk about the movie?
Honestly, all that I could say about the movie has been said already. Like, in a nutshell, a lot of potential, dropped the ball in every way, shape, and form that they could have. Period.
Yeah. What was those? What was up with the dice? I didn't actually get that reference or know what that was.
I mean,
Do
they were
you know?
It's
Han
Han
Solo's
Solo's
dice.
lucky, yeah, it's his good luck
okay.
charm that he puts on his that he had since the Solo movie.
Hold
Okay.
on, we haven't got there
To that movie that hasn't come out yet.
yet.
I
So,
guess the
Han
I
Solo's
guess
dice were a pair of
thank you.
iridium-plated gold dice owned by the smuggler Han Solo that he used to play the Sabak variant known as Corellian Spike. While escaping his homeworld of Corellia in 13 BBY, Han gave the pair of dice to Kira as a symbol of good luck, only for her to be captured by Moloch, taking the pair of dice with her. 3 years later, on the planet Kessel, Kira gave the pair of dice back to Han during a mission to steal unrefined coaxium from the Kessel mines. During a game of Spike against Lando Calrissian, Solo won his opponent's YT-1300 light freighter, the Millennium Falcon, thanks to those dice. Solo kept the gaming devices, and the Wookiee Chewbacca hung them in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon years before the Kirkin extraction as a joke, though Solo kept them up as a lucky charm. As a
Yeah, so they're
child,
lucky charm.
Han's son,
Oh,
Ben
God damn it.
Solo, enjoyed playing with the dice while always following his father, promising anyone that listened that one day he would become a pilot just like Daddy. Decades later, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker examined the dice when the Falcon arrived on Ahch-To. During the Battle of Crate, Skywalker force projected himself and the dice to appear on Crate and gave them to his sister Leia Organa. Later, Ben found the force projection of the dice after Luke was already dead, which then disappeared. Later, during the war between the First Order and the Resistance, replicas of the dice were sold on Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities in Black Spire Outpost on the planet Batu. I'm done.
Oh, that's it?
If I had a plane ticket, I would just go straight to your house and kick you right in the fucking.
What? He asked what was up with the dice. I told him the entire history of the dice.
You literally could have just stopped and said it was a good luck charm.
Yeah, I guess I could have, but what fun would that be?
Good God.
Han
Something-
Solo's dice first
Damn it!
appeared on the
Stop
Millennium
it!
Falcon
Stop it! We're done with the dice.
in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
Oh my god.
The
Let's put it like, you want to know what's the worst? Like, the worst part is, like, the dice have more of a backstory than Snoke.
Oh, you want Snoke's backstory? I can help you out, bro.
Nope.
No.
We're good.
Are you sure?
Yep.
No.
I mean, you don't just become supreme leader for no reason. Like,
good, bro.
All right, I guess. Snoke was a force-sensitive humanoid male
I fucking hate
who
you.
rose to absolute power as supreme leader of the
where I
First
quit
Order
this
during the
podcast.
New Republic era. I'm done. Sorry.
Dean, you'll be happy to know.
A master of the
Damn it,
Force. and
Dean! Stop it!
I'll be happy to know what.
that I also placed this, like you, at the last of my list. So this is actually below
Excellent.
2 and 7.
Dude, I have to say, like, in all honesty, I have probably like 3 more hours worth of notes in here just about shit that I saw while watching this movie that just infuriates me. But I think I can
Mhm.
really sum it up in 3 words. This movie sucks.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Yep.
And this would actually be the first movie that I just wholesale can't recommend at all.
It comes in strong last so
Strong.
far.
Yeah.
Strong. Yeah, really captures that last place on my list pretty firmly. Now, where 9 is going to go on my list, I'll be interested to see, but it's going to be a battle between 8 and 9. They're neck and neck. We'll see which one wins out.
I really don't think that's going to be a neck and neck battle once we watch the movie.
Solo might surprise us all. I've been saying this for a few episodes, but I think Solo on another rewatch, I think that we'll like it.
I'm not going to lie to you, dude. After watching Rogue One, I'm really concerned about how bad it's going to be.
Why? Rogue One was incredible. Are you
Because
saying like Rogue One has such a high standard?
No, dude. The last episode was only a week ago. Do you have Alzheimer's? I went on this long tirade about how disappointing Rogue One was.
You're a terrible human being.
Secretly an artificial creation of Darth Sidious, snug
Oh,
with
good night,
Worst, you're the
everybody.
worst. I hate you so much.
Oh my god, dude, it's so good. After the New Republic fell in 34 ABY, Snoke oversaw the conquest of the galaxy from his headquarters
Fucking hate your
aboard the
guts.
First Order flagship supremacy.
Dean, I'm gonna edit that damn Star Wars wiki and put your fucking outro in it.
Oh my god, dude. Is there anything else you gentlemen want to notate before we wrap up?
No,
Oh,
we all hate this movie.
yeah, this movie's really bad.
Kill me.
It's just, I'm not gonna say I hate the movie. I'm just disappointed.
So,
No, I hate it.
if I can circle back around to my opening statement this week, we're not mad, just disappointed. Okay, then. John, where do you rank this movie? Is it dead last for you too? God damn it, John.
You're welcome.
Watch
Honestly, yeah, it's dead last. It's like the other movies like had their faults like that are near the bottom, but like there were still like interesting moments with it. I can understand motives of the characters, and there was at least character development and like dilemma. This is just disappointing. There's nothing I really can gain from this movie. It actually garners more questions than answers.
Speaking of more questions and answers,
Oh, god damn it.
as always, before we go, if you enjoyed this and you're on YouTube, be sure to drop us a like and subscribe as we drop a new episode every week. If you're enjoying us on your favorite podcast service, drop us a review. It really helps us out. Don't forget to come and chat with us in the Discord. And as always, have fun out there, guys.